Let's start tonight with proposals by the National Economic Council to mitigate the effects of the removal of the petrol subsidy and the unification of the Naira exchange rate. The highest economic advisory body to the president questioned the existing National Social Register. It recommended that states should be allowed to implement a cash transfer program based on their social registers. State House correspondent Adesuwa Mora has more on this.
It's the second meeting of the National Economic Council chaired by Vice President Kashim Shettima under the Tinubu administration. Amid surging inflation and petrol prices, the inevitable focus of discussions was on the palliative measure to ease the impact of subsidy removal. The Council received the report from the subcommittee set up at its inaugural meeting, proposing measures, including allowing states and grassroots governments to implement a cash transfer program.
The states, that are better positioned to do that enumeration so they can ensure the integrity of the social register. And again, it was also proposed by the Council that we should implement a cash award policy for all public servants. What's a cash award policy? That would be a policy that allows each subnational to actually pay the public servants a certain prescribed amount of cash on a monthly basis.
For 6 months.
And it was prescribed that that should be implemented for 6 months in the first instance. We also talked about ensuring that we paid our public servants outstanding liabilities, whichever way, if it's their pension, if it's their gratuities.
With NEC proposing for governments at the subnational level to implement their register, concerns arose regarding the existing social register and funding for such programs.
At the council today, there was almost near unanimity among members that there is a big question mark about the integrity of the so-called National Social Register. People have questions about how those names in the register were brought about. The integrity test is what is missing with that register. This is stress testing it, and we think that we need to go back to the drawing board. And if you are delivering any such national or federal program from Abuja, it needs to be delivered via the constituent governments that are there at the roots, and each will now generate using their own formal and informal mechanisms to generate a register that is comprehensive, that is, meets certain criteria that you can stress test, and you can call out the people in the village and everybody will confirm that these are the vulnerable people. And we did highlight as well that there is quite some fiscal surplus that will be coming to the states and local government and the federal government. And there we've suggested it would be nice that you can implement cash transfers subject to your financial capacity.
Other recommendations included funding MSMEs with low-interest loans, implementing the energy transition plan, and addressing food security.
Food is a key component of what is on the table in terms of food security, the escalation of prices of foodstuff, and so on and so forth. And it was gladdening because NEC engaged with NEMA, with the CBN, and indeed with the Ministry of Agric. And we have some buffer stock that is already there with NEMA, and the Council has directed the states will be allocated immediately substantial portion of food items, grains, and so on and so forth for distribution, so that the prices of foodstuff will come down and it will be given at a subsidized rate or at the rate at which it is acquired from NEMA.
There's also a fund burner that we believe that once that happens, because when you look at the percentage of civil servants or public servants in every state, they are just a trickle. But these kind of measures would also ensure that these interventions trickle down to MSMEs.
The meeting also mentioned the possibility of negotiating a new minimum wage over time, while clarifying that the allocation to be shared between federating units for June would be around 900 billion naira, not the speculated 2 trillion naira, to moderate its impact on the system. Overall, the Council emphasized the need for all tiers of government to be responsive to the people's sufferings and address the cost of governance. They also stressed the need for balanced investment for sustainability. It is left to be seen how quick and how far these proposals by the National Economic Council will move the needle for suffering Nigerians. From the Presidential Villa, Adesuwa Omoruan, Arise News.
Well, for more on this and what the governors intend to do to make the lives of their citizens as the economy continues to bite harder, I'm joined live from Kaduna by Governor Sani. Good to see you, and thanks for your time, Governor Sani. And well, it's been a moment, and I really do hope Governor Sani can hear me. If you can, it doesn't look like Governor Sani.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, good. Well, the National Executive Economic Council has declared that the National Social Register is not credible. Let's start from that. Is this the position truly bearing in mind that the World Bank has also commended Nigeria on having the National Social Register?
Thank you very much. I think maybe most of the comments made by my colleagues at the NEC meeting yesterday, I think some people over-amplified the comment. In my opinion, what we actually said was that the social register need to be updated. As you're aware, most of those names were put together as far back as 2019 in some cases. And of course, nothing is constant, in my opinion. Of course, that is number one. Number two, some state governors, including my humble self, believe that some of the names captured 4 years ago as the that made the list. Certainly, I believe if you look at the numbers compared to the current situation facing the country generally in terms of the level of poverty in some areas, you will agree with me that the list needs to be updated because looking at the situation, let me give you an example of Kaduna State. There are some local governments in my state that were not captured because of the problem of insecurity at that critical time. I'm talking about some local governments like Binangwari local government, Giyo local government, even some local governments like Zangon Katab in southern Kaduna, and some part of Kaduna Central, some local government were missing, largely because of the issue of insecurity. So I believe really and truly that is why some people question the credibility of the social register, but the fact that we are calling for the register to be updated does not mean we are saying completely that the register was a scam. I believe some names there were captured properly, but in life, nothing is constant. You have to continue to update the register. There were some people that were not captured last time, and today you can agree with me that the vulnerable people within the society because of certain things that happen. Of course, you'll agree with me. In the last 3 years, we faced some critical crisis of COVID-19 pandemic and many other social crises that happened in our own country. A lot of people lost their businesses completely, and I believe these are the kind of people that needs to be captured. So the register, I agree 100% that needs to be updated. That is number one. But my position really is not even about whether we should really use the register or not. My position has always been the fact that as the former chairman committee on banking, who had a responsibility at that time overseeing the entire financial services sector of our own country, you will agree with me that the statistics at the moment that has been provided by the NDIC, and if you go to Central Bank, you also see the same statistics by the Development Finance Department of Central Bank. You will agree with me that about 70% of the rural population in Northwest are completely financially excluded, they are unbanked. So if you want to transfer money to 8 million Nigerians, for instance, and you are telling me that you want the vulnerable people to benefit from the transfers, I will disagree with you completely that if you look at the current statistics, like I said, 70% of the adult age between 18 and above in northern Nigeria, particularly the northwest part of Nigeria, are completely unbanked. So for me, how do you really transfer this kind of money to them? I think a lot of work have to be done. When I was the chairman committee on banking, I encouraged the central bank concerning the fact that even during the World Bank IMF meeting in 2021, the position was very clear that government should try as much as possible to capture a lot of people that are unbanked and open accounts for them. And we have not been able to achieve that up to this moment, and I will urge that we need to try as much as possible to open accounts for those that are vulnerable, so that at least whenever we're transferring money, the money will go to the right people. But at this critical time, the problem is that I don't think even the people who are going to transfer the monies to them will even access the money. So that is number one. Number two, for me, that is the reason why the governors decided to look at the issue holistically. If you look at I'm going to another issue right now. If you will agree, if you will allow me, that's why I'm going to talk about the position of the NEC generally, some of the highlights. Another area that I'm also very concerned about is the fact that, and I said it openly, in Kaduna State, for instance, the public servants are less than 1% of the population of Kaduna State. So we need to also be very careful.
Governor Sani, just let me jump in here. Apologies, let me butt in here quickly, because we need to still go back to the National Social Register, because if you look at the website and the social handle of the National Social Security Coordinating Office, that's NASCO, it speaks about that register, and it says, I'll give you a quote there, which is also pinned. It says it is an aggregation of state registers built by each of the 36 states and the FCT. States build the register using a community-based targeting approach undertaken by targeting teams and enumerators engaged by states and overseen by their ministries of planning. So the question here, first, you already agree that this is an emergency. We need to move with speed in Nigeria. And in Kaduna State, this government perhaps should be able to tell us at what point are they dissatisfied with the register that they have now, so that when you speak of implementation, people can now have a date when this can actually take off.
Let me tell you, as we are speaking, in Kaduna State, we are already updating the register. We've started since about 2 weeks ago. And I can assure you, probably in the next 2-3 weeks, we should be able to achieve some level of progress there. Because, like I said, there are some local governments in Kaduna State that were completely not captured in the register because of insecurity. Today, those people are saying that they must be involved, because these people are also affected by what is happening in the country at the moment. So that's what I'm trying to say. As a leader, you need to make sure that everyone benefits. That is a responsibility. And we need to be fair to everyone. That is why some of us are raising this alarm. I'm not really in a position to say that the current register is not credible or is not right, but I believe other people must also be considered, because we are here, we're on ground. We went around to all the local governments and wards of my state. I've seen the level of poverty. I've seen the people that were not captured at that time, not because it was deliberate, but like I said, in life, nothing is constant. When you look at the situation that happened in the last 2 years, You will agree with me. I don't think we should go on and on arguing about this.
No, we're not.
The most important thing is that
Governor Sani, certainly this is not an argument, because people will need to know, because what's the guarantee that states will generate a credible register, since they also partook in the one that is being discredited at the moment?
No, I don't think, for me in Kaduna, I'm not saying the register is not credible. I'm only saying that I need to include more people. I was there when the World Bank made their presentation. I have no problem with the presentation. The only thing is that last year, there are people that, if you ask me, someone can be captured last year, but maybe he wasn't captured a year before. Now I'm saying we need to review it, because we need to capture more people and put them on the register. That's the most important thing. And let me tell you this thing. There's nobody that can be trusted than someone that is being elected by the people of his own state. We have their mandate, we have responsibilities, and we need to be fair to everyone. That's why we don't want people that are really supposed to be captured are missing in this very list. It will be really very serious, and we will not be happy about it.
It's good to think that you're talking about transparency here, which is very important, and I'm quite sure the people of Kaduna State will be excited about it. Now, if you look at the setting up of the infrastructure support fund geared towards improving healthcare, education, and even farms, which many will also benefit from your state to market, this is more money for states. But again, it comes back to the issue of trust and transparency, the guarantee that these monies will be well utilized. Your people would like to know more about this.
Let me tell you, the talks about many. Let me be very frank with you. As a governor, until this moment, I've not seen anyone sending me billions to Kaduna State. It could be on the paper, but I'm not seeing the reality. But whatever the money comes, I can guarantee you that the most important thing is that we, the leaders, have to have people that we trust, and we try as much as possible. In Kaduna State, I can assure you that the way we're going to approach the issue, we're not going to be partisan. We will try as much as possible to carry everyone along, because as a leader, we're talking about governance, and the politics is over. And we need to be really fair to everyone. We have to carry everyone along, irrespective of party affiliation. So that's what I believe we need to do. And I'm have to also call on my colleagues to put politics aside. And it's time for governance now. And everyone in my state, whether he elected me or not, I think I have responsibility to be fair to everyone, to carry everyone along, because that is the most important thing.
And another important aspect here, Governor Sani, is the discussion on minimum wage and the conversion of cars to CNG. How soon will that happen across states and even in Kaduna?
What do you say?
I'm talking about the discussion of minimum wage. That conversation is there, and the conversion of cars to the compressed natural gas. How soon will that happen?
No, I think this is an issue that, like I said, we need to be very careful in the way we handle it, because we had this deliberation, and I have no doubt in my mind the public servant needs to benefit, because today when they go to the market, the prices of goods and services have really changed. Transportation have gone very high. So whether we like it or not, workers must be considered. And of course, whatever you call it cash award, you can call it salary increment, you can call it anything. But my position is clear. Workers must be looked into, and we need to support them. We need to do whatever is possible to make sure that we look at their condition of service and improve it, because you will agree with me that the situation has completely changed. Transportation is high, foods in the market are very high, even school fees have been increased in some areas, in some places. Just yesterday I'm hearing. So for me, I think this is something very critical. But while we are doing that, we should not be carried away. The fact that we should be very careful because, like I said, workers in my state constitute about 1% of the population. And we have market women, we have farmers, we have artisans, we have petty traders. They also go to the same market with the public servants. So in my own opinion, we should also carry them along.
Okay, now,
because the fact that they are not on the table.
Okay, Governor Sani, now that we're talking about these categories of persons that we must carry along, let's talk about cash transfer, which many have spoken about. The president is not excited about that. He's feeling indifferent, and some other people are also saying that this is something that should be dropped. What's your idea of the cash transfer being given to the very vulnerable in the society?
My position have always been that at this critical time, cash transfer should not even be something that we should bring up completely. I think the cash transfer, I can say here, for me, my opinion, is a scam. Completely, it's a scam. I can be very certain about that. Because who are you transferring the money to? Let me give an example. Go and check the current statistics. Like I said, as the chairman committee on banking for 4 years in Nigeria, I oversight central bank, I oversight all the commercial sector of our economy in the last 4 years. And I look at the statistics. I will be very firm on this issue, and you can go and check it. About 70 to 75% of the rural population in Northwest are financially excluded completely. You will have to go and check. So who are you? And these people I'm talking about are the vulnerable in the society. They don't even have bank accounts. So who are you transferring the money to? Someone cannot sit there in the capital of a state and be committing fraud and scam and taking the money. So that's why even at the beginning, I said it quite clear that we should not even be thinking about cash transfers. We have a long way to go. I think what we need to do now, we should be working toward making sure that we bring the vulnerable and the poor into our financial services sector. Most of them are financially excluded. Let's try and work very hard to make sure that they're financially included. That is the most important thing. And I would like to call on our development partners, even the World Bank, to put more money toward bringing more people into the financial services sector, the vulnerable in particular. Let's put more money to ensure that we open accounts for them, get them involved. If we don't do that, no matter what you do, however you do it, the money will go to the wrong people. That is a fact.
It's a fine place for us to leave it. Governor Uba Sani of Kaduna State, many thanks for speaking with us here on Arise Prime Time.